We're going to talk about reincarnation. And is reincarnation real? There are people who do remember a past life. They do. Wait a minute, something is going on here, you all. Wait a minute, what have they done? I know that I've changed this thing. I've got it changed, but it didn't change it, you all. Can you hear me? This did not change my screen. Let me see if I can go into here again. Something's going on with this. This is not changing my thumbnail. I know that my thumbnail was changed, but did it change it? You can hear me? I'm wondering what happened, you all. Because when I come over here on my video to my page, it shows a totally different thing than what I want to see. It shows my channel, but on my... It's showing the FAA live webcam, you all. And I don't want to show the FAA live webcam. What's going on? Look at my screen, you all. They've got this as my screensaver, and I promise you, I did not leave that on there. Someone has changed this to the FAA cameras facing east are turned off. What is going on here, you all? I want you to look at this right here. I want you all to look at this. Is reincarnation real? I'm going to show you the details. Oh my gosh. No. What is going on with this? I even put it in there, you all. I promise you, I put it in there. Oh my gosh. Like, what are they doing to me? They wanted to mess this up. They wanted to mess this up so I couldn't get my message out. That's what they wanted to do. Wow, you all. It won't let me save it. Are you seeing this? It will not let me save this. They are playing with me. You can see it's right here. It's on here. I'm over here. Oh, that's dirty. That's really dirty, you all. That is so dirty of them to do that. I don't think that they want people to know that we're talking about reincarnation. Wow. If you're just tuning in and you went over to my page and they've got the FAA webcam showing like this is not my camera right there, you all. Look at this. I don't know why they got that on there. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're hackers. Well, I want you to know that it is very real, is what it is. Here in a minute, they'll probably buffer me. Well, they can buffer on you all because we're going to read this. They're going to come right here, reincarnation. And I'm going to put you this link right here because somebody is not happy with GINA. We're going to put our first one in here, you all. Cannot believe they did that. That is so dirty of them. So reincarnation, let's read this definition right here. The rebirth of a soul in a new body, a person or an animal in whom a particular soul is believed to have been reborn, a new version of something from the past. That's some definitions. But let's look at this. Reincarnation, the concept of rebirth. Reincarnation, also known as rebirth or transmigration, is the philosophical or religious concept that the non-physical essence of a living being begins a new life in a different physical form or body after a biological death. Resurrection is a similar process hypothesized by some religions in which a soul comes back to life in the same body and is seen as an immortal in the same body. In most beliefs involving reincarnation, the soul is seen as immortal, and the only thing that becomes perishable is the body. Upon death, the soul becomes transmigrated into a new infant or animal to live again. The term transmigration means passing of a soul from one body to another after death. Now I'm having a hot flash. I am, you all. It's gonna... Oh my gosh, you all. This is... Why did they do that? Why did they do that? I've made sure I had sound, and they made sure. I'm trying to get these knee pads off my knees. These knee braces off my knees. You all just wait a minute. Now I'm going to take off my socks. Oh, wow. A lot of stuff on computers these days. Yeah. That's okay. That's all right. So people are going to think, oh, she's talking about the FAA live webcams again. No, I'm not. I'm talking about the theory and the thought, and we're talking about reincarnation. Is it real? That's what we're talking about. So we've got that right here. So I went into this right here. Here's some being images of like some reincarnation images right here. You can see man arising from the ashes, the energy, the aura, the power of reincarnation, an ideology for a better future. In fact, you know, they do want to take the consciousness of mankind or something, or their brain, and put them in a robotic body so that they live forever. They do want to do that. You all see these images right here. Let me copy this and put this in here. Since we're documenting, is what we're doing. We're documenting it because we want to do it right. We really want to do it right. That's right. We do. And you can see all these different images. So when I was thinking about reincarnation, they have something called the soul reincarnation. You can see all these images right here. So that was the same one. So there's even more right here. Consciousness after death. There was something in here about scientists actually photographing a person leaving their body. And where did that go, you all? That was on here too. You've got to be kidding. Let's read this near-death experiences. Look at this exclusive stuff like this. The Daily Star. Let's look at this. Just go ahead and put this in here because really the one thing I wanted to find on here, that's totally gone too. Totally gone. The link I had opened, that just disappeared just like that. You all, let's come with this. Oh my gosh. Microsoft Edge is trying to access my webcam. No, I don't want it to access my webcam. Let's come right here. So human consciousness can... Oh, Lord have mercy, you all. What on earth? Look what they're doing. Oh my gosh. This is... Oh, somebody is not happy at all. Let's see what the title of this was. Life After Death Experience. Near-death experiences prove... They've even kicked me off of here. Life after death experiences, near-death experiences prove the existence of afterlife. You are, they're switching the thing on me and everything. The brain is astonishingly sophisticated, but extremely delicate mechanism. If the amount of oxygen it receives is oh my gosh, if it's reduced for a short time, it can shut down and stop working. Yet a growing body of evidence collected from periods of near death is convincing many on the reality of an afterlife. As the ragged border between life and death is being increasingly examined by scientists, a doctor has published a groundbreaking research in the near-death experience. Such encounters with transcendental dimension have the capacity to transform lives for the better. Groundbreaking evidence of the existence of an afterlife has been amassed by physician Dr. Jeffrey Long, who has logged and analyzed more than 4,000 first-hand accounts. The fascinating phenomena falls into two broad categories: out-of-body experiences and immersion into an unearthly realm. Both happen to subjects who are physically compromised. They are literally unconscious or clinically dead, with absent heartbeat or respirations. When your heart stops 10 or 20 seconds later, the EEG recording of brain activity goes absolutely flat. General anesthesia, which is often given to such degree on the operating table that you shouldn't shut down completely to the point that your brainstem ceases to function and machines are required to breathe for you. You literally have no brain function at the brain stem. Let's see if I can get this, you all. If this will just let me do this. You have no brain function at the brain stem. So this is right here. Every human being possesses the ability to have consciousness survive after bodily death. And there's been instances of people who've seen their body, their spirit hovering over their body, you all. We have detailed scores of near-death experiences that occur at this time. Those exploring the hinterland between life and death commonly experience encounters with a heavenly place or an unearthly realm. Subjects travel through a tunnel, and at the end of the tunnel, which is unearthly, mystical light, sometimes described as brilliant and as yet not hurting the eyes to see. At the end of the passage through that tunnel, there may be an unearthly realm. Some call it heavenly realm. It can feature landscapes that include flowers with colors so beautiful that they could not exist on earth. There can be music more beautiful that we can possibly conceive of, and they may encounter deceased loved ones, and these are joyous reunions, even if the relations were strained in the past. There can be all around this time, they physically feel overwhelmingly positive emotions. A few of the most common words used as descriptors of the near-death experience are peace and love. We're reading from an article. I've already put it in here, you all. I've had a lot of difficulty through this. At the very beginning of this, my OBS is working, but that YouTube did not want to update my thumbnail to the near-death experience. They want to leave it at the FAA Live webcam. So they may arrive at the boundary, and it may be a creek or a bridge, something that causes them to stop. And at that time, they often have to make a decision about whether they want to stay in this unearthly realm or continue with their earthly life. Even though they typically enjoyed decades of earthly life with friends and families, yet in spite of all that, a significant majority of people do not want to return. They just want to stay, which is just outstanding, he says. Related but different are out-of-body experiences, which a subject rises out of their body, allowing them to perceive ongoing earthly events, including sometimes the frantic attempts to resuscitate them to bring them back to life. Dr. Long has an example of one such case. We had a person, we can look over here, who coded. That's when your heart stops and you're leading to a cardiac arrest in the operating room while under general anesthesia. The person's consciousness left the body and traveled to the hospital cafeteria where they observed their family waiting for the operation to be done, who were unaware that their relative had coded and was in trouble. The patient was able to verify what they were doing and saying at the time he coded in the operating table a long way away. You all, that is wild. What they are observing is frequently too far away to be perceived by their physical senses. This point, when consciousness separates from the body, is cited as a conclusive proof of human consciousness's ability to split from the physical mind. Although it is anecdotal evidence, we have scores and scores of consistent observations like this. Over 32 years, these life-changing events are said to occur up to 18% of the people whose hearts and brains stop functioning. Among the body evidence, striking similar content in the hundreds of different experiences recorded from around the world, including around 50 from non-Western countries. It's amazing because it makes no difference whether you're a Muslim in Egypt, a Hindu in India, a Christian in England. The same goes for the children, described as blank slate culturally. They will almost always certainly never have heard of a near-death experience, don't understand religious concepts, and yet here they are having experiences strikingly similar to everybody else. The ongoing study's author is convinced his research has a profoundly positive message for all humanity, wherever they are on the planet. You all, there is something truly going on with this. There is this life after death, the life after death, leaving your body, reincarnation, all of that. Okay, there was some other things I was going to look into this. So soul reincarnation. There were pictures. Oh yeah, I wanted to see this. Wanted to see some of these images. If there was images of it on here, I wanted to look at this. No, that's not what I wanted to look at on this Microsoft Bing. Your daughter, Justine Marie, remembered her past life when she was 2 years old and her other mom and how they died. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anyone else on here who has, hello, Seymour Cannabis. Is there anyone else on here whose child has remembered? Because that seems to be around the age that they remember, up to around age 5. And then you know what happens at age 5 when you go to the dentist, which you get a big, that's what you get, a big dose of something when you go to the dentist. But they have their memories intact, is what they have. Let's look at this, you all. 15 stories of reincarnation. Let's hope that they let us watch this without interrupting us, you all, because this is wild. It really is wild. You know, there's so much more to this life than what meets the eye. There really is. And or even the mind, the human mind. Our minds somehow get wiped clean through the process. Some people can remember, and some people cannot remember. Your daughter, whoa. Yeah, that's kind of scary, F. Michelle. Yeah. So people, let's look at this. People with really believable evidence claim they're reincarnated. So a 4-year-old, no, don't do that to us. recalled a life as a Hollywood agent. I think we might have seen this. In 2009, at the age of 4, Ryan Hammonds began waking up, clutching his chest, and screaming about how his heart exploded in Hollywood. His mother, Cindy, became intrigued when Ryan revealed more details from a former life. He insisted that he once lived in a house in Hollywood on a street with the name Rock in it, where he had 3 sons and a friend named Senator Fives. One day, Cindy was going through a book featuring photos from old Hollywood, and Ryan peeked over her shoulder and excitedly identified one man as George and another one as himself. Cindy contacted a psychiatrist who conducts research on reincarnation, and the psychiatrist verified the man in the photo was a film star named George Raff, and the other man was Martin, who died in 1964. Upon contacting Martin's daughter, she confirmed Martin was a Hollywood agent, lived on North Roxbury Drive, had 3 sons, and once met with a New York Senator Irving Eyes. After meeting with his daughter, Ryan lost interest in his Hollywood memories. He was standoffish at the meeting and told his mother afterward his daughter's energy had changed. The psychiatrist's explanation: upon seeing people from their past have moved on, reincarnated children gain closure and they forget their former existences. So, yeah, hello everyone. Let's see this. So that was one. Let me see what's happening. Okay, let's look at this. A Chicago fire victim was reincarnated as a 5-year-old boy. Wait a minute. Okay, you all, wait a minute. So, if this person was reincarnated as a 5-year-old boy, let me say this. A 5-year-old boy at the age of 5, immediately, the age of 5 is spoken of by a lot of people in the UFO community as when they first saw the aliens, you all, when they were young. It was 5 years old, and some of these who say they are being trained to be pilots, to command ships, their training started at 5 years of age. So why is this story about this person being reincarnated as a 5-year-old boy? There's something going on. There really is something going on. And are UFOs, are they in on it? Is some type of interdimensional activity occurring from space with interdimensional beings bringing this about? Because that is an age, a very prominent age that is spoken of by people in the UFO community, age 5. It is when they first saw their abduction, when they first saw the aliens and the UFOs. Oh my goodness, let's look at this. We're going to still look at this show because there is something to this. At first, Erica Rulam laughed off her 5-year-old son's Luke's odd tendency to call toys and objects Pam. She was also unconcerned by his comments about having once been a girl. He would say he had black hair when he was a girl, or that he wore the same earrings as his mom when he was a girl. Out of curiosity, Erica eventually asked Luke who Pam was. "I was," he said. "I used to be, but I died and I went up to heaven. I saw God, and then eventually God pushed me back down, and when I woke up, I was a baby and you named me Luke." After pressing him for more details, Luke told his mother he lived in Chicago, took the train a lot, and died in a fire. After mentioning his death, Luke made a hand motion indicating someone jumping out of a window. And when Erica punched the information on into a search engine, she discovered a news story about a fire in the Paxton Hotel in Chicago of March of 1993. 13 people died in a fire at the building, and a woman, Pam Robinson, perished when she jumped out a window. Erica could not explain how Luke would have known about a fire in Chicago. He had never been to the city, and she never discussed it with him. While the haunting story of Pam Robinson could be a coincidence, it was enough to make Erica believe. If you're all just tuning in, is a reincarnation real? And there's lots of evidence out there. There's lots of firsthand experiences. There's lots of documentation and research done on it. 2 sisters who were killed in a car accident were reincarnated as twins. John and Florence Pollock were devastated when their twin daughters, Joanna and Jacqueline, died in a car accident on May the 5th of 1957. Did we put this in here, Ewa? I can't remember if we copied this and put this in here, but we're going to. Let me see. Ranker lists unbelievable stories. Let's see. I think I did. Yeah, I did. It's already in here. So I'm not going to put it in here twice. Okay, just wanted you all to know it's in there. I'm going to cancel that and go back to that, you all. They died in a car. So the following year, they were thrilled to hear they were expecting once again. Florence was carrying twins. The twins, Jillian and Jennifer, were born identical except for Jennifer's birthmarks. She had a birthmark on her waist similar to a birthmark Jacqueline had, and a birthmark on her forehead that resembled one of Jacqueline's scars. Wow. John and Florence moved away from their old home when their daughters were 3 months old. John and Florence told Gillian and Jennifer very little about their late sisters, but the girls seemed to share Joanna and Jacqueline's memories. They would request old toys that had belonged to the deceased twins, recognized the landmarks when traveling to their parents' former home, and were inexplicably terrified of cars. Upon seeing oncoming traffic, they would shriek, "The car is coming to get us." Luckily, by the age of 5, these frightening memories mostly faded away. The girls went on to live relatively normal adult lives. However, their story is still frequently cited as evidence of reincarnation. Yeah. So here's another one. Mahatma Gandhi investigated a girl's reincarnation claims. Shanti Devi of Delhi, India, was born in 1926 and barely talked until she was 4 years old. She then began insisting she lived with her husband and son in a town called Mathura, where she had died 10 days after giving birth. Eventually, a teacher in Devi's school asked for her former husband's name, and she replied, Pandit Kedarnath Shob. The teacher identified a man of this name in Mathura and wrote him a letter. Chaub confirmed his wife, Lugdi, died during childbirth 9 years prior. And when Chaub traveled to meet Shanti, he introduced himself using his older brother's name. Shanti immediately shut the bluff and recognized Chaub as her husband. She recalled the details of Lugdi's life, such as Kedarnath's favorite food and how Lugdi bathed in a well in the courtyard. She also chastised Chaub for remarrying, as he promised Lugdi he would not. Mahatma Gandhi eventually heard of her story. He met with Devi and set up a committee of 15 people to evaluate her claims, and the committee surprisingly could not debunk her story. You all were reading this, these 15 stories that were submitted as evidence of reincarnation. A grandfather was reincarnated as his own grandson. Wow. University of Virginia psychiatrist Jim Tucker, who studies reincarnation professionally, met a boy identified as Sam, who he believes to be the reincarnation of his own grandfather. Until he was 4 years old, Sam had never seen a picture of his grandfather. After his grandmother's passing, his parents bought out an old photo album. Upon seeing his grandfather's car, he exclaimed, "That's my car." It would be easy to attribute this to an overactive imagination. This is what Sam Baptist's mother did at first, as her religion does not believe in reincarnation. However, she became a believer after she asked Sam if he remembered anything else from his past life. He said his sister had been turned into a fish by bad men. Sam's mother was astounded. His grandfather's sister had been murdered and her body was dumped in a river. Due to the frightening nature of the story, Sam's parents never told him about his great aunt's murder. Oh my gosh. Wow. How horrific. If you're all just tuning in, and I know that this probably is not a very subject that some people do not want to hear about. They're going to totally reject it. But if you're watching this, I ask you to have an open mind. I've got an open mind. I never really thought about reincarnation until so many years ago. It wasn't. It was less than 10 years ago. I hadn't, and I thought, that is not true when someone first mentioned that to me, because I thought, that you can't be talking about that. That don't happen. But there's lots of evidence of people remembering their past lives. So something's going on. Something's going on. And we know that when this body's done, our spirit goes back to God who gave it. So there's something more to it, you all. There really is. And let's look at this. Hello, Jacqueline. A Midwestern toddler recalls riding Gone with the Wind. From the time he was 2 years old, a Midwestern child named Lee insisted he had another house and another mommy. By the age of 3, he began saying that he was born on June the 26th rather than his actual birthday, June the 21st. Lee claimed his middle name was Cole. He wrote movies for a living and had a daughter named Jennifer. His sister asked him how old he was when he died, and he promptly replied, 48. Lee's curious parents relayed the titles of several movies to Lee, asking if he had written them. When they mentioned Gone with the Wind, Lee became enthusiastic. He eagerly claimed that he wrote the film. After a quick Google search, Lee's parents learned the writer of Gone with the Wind was named Sidney Cole Howard. Howard was born June the 26th and had a daughter named Jennifer and passed away at 48. As the details of Cole's life were unknown to Lee's parents, it's unclear how he knew them. This leaves reincarnation as a possible exclamation. That's right. So we're going to read another one. It might be a little, yeah. A reincarnated murder victim returned to confront his killer. When Karanfil Tutusmus of Turkey was pregnant with a son in the 50s, she dreamed a man named Selim Felsley appeared to her with a bloody face. She went on to give birth to a boy. As soon as Semi began to talk, he insisted he was the reincarnation of Fesley. He said he lived in a village nearby and had been murdered by a neighbor. At the age of 4, he walked to Fesley's old village and talked with Fesley's widow. He was able to recount their life together in great detail, and his murder claims were somewhat corroborated. Fesley had indeed been shot by a neighbor, but the neighbor claimed it was a hunting accident. Semi, on the other hand, insisted his past self had been killed due to an argument over Fesley's mule grazing in the neighbor's field. He returned to Fesley's village throughout his life, visiting his widow and adult children. When he encountered his murderer, he would throw stones at him. He did not enact more violent revenge out of concern his neighbor would also be reincarnated. Semi stuck to stone throwing. He stuck to the stone throwing to avoid perpetuating a cycle of murder across multiple lifetimes. Wow. That's really interesting. Multiple lifetimes. Well, if you believe in, you reap what you sow, and what has been will be again, and God will call the past to account. There's a such thing called karma. If it doesn't happen, they say, if it doesn't happen to you in this lifetime, it will happen to you. It'll catch up with you. I personally believe that we all reap what we sow. One way or another, it will come back to us somehow, some way, whether it be good, whether it be bad. We're going to reap what we sow, you all. I hope this is all right. A 6-year-old claimed to be the reincarnation of nearby family man. At the age of 1.5, Nazi al-Danaf of Lebanon shocked his parents. "I am not small, I am big," he insisted. He had many weapons, including grenades, and he lived in a nearby village. As time went on, al-Danaf continually requested to be taken to his old home in this place right here. I can't even say it. Obermoon, about 10 miles away from his village. And when he was 6 years old, his parents granted this request. Al-Danaf located Nadija Khadaji's home and spoke with al-Danaf at length and became convinced he was the reincarnation of her husband. Faoud Assad Khadaj, she was astounded, and when al-Danaf answered her questions correctly, he remembered who built the foundation of their home, the specifics of an accident when she dislocated her shoulder, and an incident where their daughter became ill by ingesting medicine. Even more astonishing, when al-Danaf's alleged former wife invited him into her home, he quickly ran to a cupboard in search of his weapons. This was the exact cupboard where her deceased husband had kept his guns and grenades. Yeah, these are wild stories. They really are. Oh wow, there's another one. I hope this is okay, you all. Thank you for being so patient in listening to this, because it's a really fascinating topic, and I've often thought about myself how do I know how to do so many things that I know how to do? How many different skills? And you may find yourself asking the same thing. How do you know what you know? How come things come so naturally to you? Have you ever thought that of yourself? How come certain things are the way they are? And how come you know things that you should not know? You ever ask yourself, and when you run into people, some people you feel like you have known them all your life. How come? And you've never met them before in this lifetime, but yet you felt like you've known them all your life. And how about this? If you're say you are reincarnated into another lifetime in another area, do you come back in the same area? Do you? Or do you go to some other part of the world? See, that'd be a good question to ask. Do you go to another part of the world or something like that? Yeah. Sometimes you need 20 accounts just to talk. Oh my goodness gracious. A child's birthmark matches a bicyclist's deadly injuries. Purnima Ekanayak of Sri Lanka was born with unusual birthmarks dotting her lower ribs and chest. At a young age, she began speaking of a past life. After a school trip to a temple 145 miles away, Ekanayaki insisted she lived in the town across the river from the temple. She claimed she was once a male incense maker who died in a traffic accident. Her father traveled with his brother-in-law to the town in question, Kelanaya. They asked around about local incense makers and found the name Jinadasa. Jinadasa had been an incense maker who died when he was hit by a bus while riding his bicycle. Ekanakyak's family took her to Jinadasa's home, where she was able to identify his wife and daughter and name the school Jenadasa attended. Ekanayaksi family had no prior contact or connection with Jenadasa's family. It is difficult to explain how she got such specific information correct. Then there were the birthmarks. Jenadasa's autopsy report showed several fractures and bruises from the accident that ran along his lower ribs and left side. It's cutting out on your end. We're going to look at this. A retired fire chief felt an emotional link to a Civil War general. When retired fire chief Jeffrey Keene and his wife vacationed in Maryland, he was caught off guard when visiting a Civil War battlefield called Sunken Road. Keene became inexplicably emotional as he entered the field, to the point that he thought he may be suffering a heart attack. And while the physical pain passed, he felt an uncanny connection to the area. Later, he recounted the incident to a psychic at a party. She asked if he believed in reincarnation. He felt the instinctive urge to say the words, "Not yet." While reading a Civil War magazine in his home, he found an article about a Civil War general identified as General Gordon. Gordon had fought in Sunken Road during the Battle of Antietam. During this battle, he was best remembered for repetitively shouting the words, "Not yet." Upon researching Gordon's life, Keene found more connection between himself and Gordon. Keene had marks on his body similar to the wounds Gordon suffered in war. On Keene's 30th birthday, he was admitted to the hospital with a terrible pain in his jaw. When Gordon was 30, he was shot in the face. Well, I hope you're not getting so dizzy from reading this, you all, listening to it. A reincarnated boy solved his own murder. While the story is largely based on rumors, it's nonetheless chilling. Allegedly, a 3-year-old boy from Golan Heights near Syria was born with a red birthmark on his head. He claimed this from being murdered in a past life. Physician Dr. Eli Lash claims to have investigated the story. He took the boy from city to city in Israel until the boy recognized a village. He walked around the town for quite some time before approaching a strange man and saying, "I used to be your neighbor. We had a fight and you killed me with an axe." Then the boy led Lash and the accused man to a spot where he claimed to have been buried. A skeleton was found in the ground, with a wound in the skull corresponding to the boy's birthmark. The man he accused eventually confessed to having murdered his neighbor 4 years prior. Oh my gosh. So, the body that he had stayed in the grave, and his spirit went on, and his spirit got a new body. Got a new body, you all. The spirit just left that body. It was just a vessel. Oh my gosh. I bet a lot of us are kind of happy they don't remember their past life if you believe in reincarnation. There are those who do have remembrance, and there are those who do see people and they know who they were in another life. They do. They'll tell you they'll know who you are in another life because they were there. They saw you. Even though you may not remember, they're going to tell you all about you. That's how it works with some people. An elderly man shocked archaeologists with his knowledge of an ancient city. For his entire life, author Flower Dew was haunted with inexplicable and vivid memories of a city surrounded by a desert and a temple carved into the cliff. One day, while watching a BBC documentary on television, he saw the city of Petra, Jordan. To his amazement, the city matched the one in his head. After Flower Dew shared his story with several people, BBC reporters contacted him asking to put his story on television. Several archaeologists flew to Petra with Flower Dew. He recognized landmarks with ease, including sites that had not been excavated yet. When presented with an ancient device, for the purpose of which had baffled scholars for years, he offered a plausible explanation regarding its use. After seeing a guard station, Flowerdew recalled that he had died there when he was stabbed with a spear. Wow. The experts who accompanied Flowerdew believed his claims of reincarnation, doubting someone would be able to fake or fabricate the breadth of knowledge that he displayed. Flowerdew maintained he had never studied the city previously and only heard of it upon seeing it on television. While Flowerdew could possibly have withheld information regarding his education, many believe this is a true reincarnation story. And that is, I think that's it with those, you all. No, there's one more. I think there's a total of 15, you all. I really do. Yeah. Swedish woman claims to be the reincarnation of Anne Frank. Barbro Karlin was born in Sweden in 1954. From the time she could talk, Karlin began telling her parents strange stories about someone named Anne Frank. She claimed she was Anne Frank, that she had nightmares of men kicking in the door of her home and taking her away. Her parents were perplexed, not least because they had no idea Anne Frank was a real person. Frank died in 1945 in Bergen-Belsen concentration camp after the Nazi discovered her and her family hiding in the attic in Amsterdam. They were trying to avoid prosecution for being Jewish. Karlin's parents took her to Amsterdam when she was 10 years old. She quickly led them to Frank's house with no directions, correctly identified the spot on the wall where Frank had hung photos of movie stars, and noted the steps were different than she remembered them. All of this was enough to make her parents believe she really was the incarnation of Anne Frank, and she's been writing books about her experience ever since. Yeah, you all. This is wild. All of this stuff is so wild. There's another one that says, here's what happens to your body during each of the 8 stages. I'm not going to, no, we're not going to read that. No, it's all gory. I'm not reading that, you all. I refuse to read that. I think we probably read enough about the reincarnation. But really, reincarnation, also known as rebirth or transmigration, is the philosophical or religious concept that the non-physical essence of a living being begins a new life in a different physical form or body after a biological death. Right there. After a biological death. We will come back over here, you all, is what we can do, if that's okay. We will. Yeah, you're so very welcome. I hope that this right here, which it's probably not. You know what I want to do? I want to just turn this cell phone off that I got right here because they still got that thing on there. I've heard that birthmarks, if you have birthmarks, it represents something. So somebody said something about a birthmark, you all, and they had mentioned, Gina, do you got a birthmark on your arm? And I thought, why are you asking me if I've got a birthmark on my arm? Yeah, on my upper arm, like on my shoulder, because I thought, why are you asking me that? And yeah, they did. That was months ago. I thought, that's really strange that you ask me that. Yeah. Oh, you are so welcome. So have your all's children mentioned anything, remembering anything when they were young, at a young age? Wonderful, great human beings. We are fully spiritual, lived a great life. Did not us money power cost it the aether. Yeah. That's all right. Can you all see this? I'm getting ready to end the video. I just want to come over here and see what they got me on here as. Oh no, I'm on here as the right thing this time, you all. That's all right. Yeah. So I am going to go. I'm going to go, you all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this. Now, whether or not you believe in reincarnation, that's totally up to you. If you've never heard of it, you've heard a little bit about it. And it's kind of interesting to hear the stories that are told, the past life experiences. How did they get that knowledge? And why are doctors so interested in it? And why do they want to study that your consciousness stays even though this earthly body is done? Your consciousness still lives on, or your spirit. And why does your spirit hover over your body at times? So it's all interesting. So thank you. And with that being said, hello, wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello. From my heart to yours. Love you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you, moderators, for being on here. Love you.